Okay, so let's start. Good luck.
Thank you.
Please share your screen and go ahead.
Is the screen visible now?
Yes, dear.
Okay. So you're going to introduce and then I'll take it up.
Please introduce yourself.
Okay. Can I start?
Yes, dear.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this very interesting session called Cyber Law for All. Um, so I'm here with a very interesting and a very intriguing topic for all of us who are using a computer, mobile phone, and the internet. So my name is Dr. Advocate Sai Sushanth, and I am a lawyer and I specialize in the area of technology laws and cyber laws. I run my own consulting firm named Sushanth IT Law Associates. We serve clients across the globe, and I'm an academician. I'm an author. I've authored 8 ebooks which are available on Amazon. I am a startup legal mentor, and I'm also a corporate trainer, and I've trained more than 1 lakh plus stakeholders over the past 10 years, and have addressed more than 1300 plus national and international conferences in the various domains of technology and law. So this is something about me, and I must also tell you that IIU is doing a wonderful job in coming up with very interesting and innovative programs, especially connecting a lot of things that are happening in the real world today. And I'm extremely privileged and honored to be part of this wonderful August Assembly. And I thank the organizers for giving me this wonderful opportunity to come and share with you about technology and cyber laws in a very common and simple manner, because I do not want to talk in a legal and as someone who's into this legal domain, because the moment I start talking about all of these, I think it will be more of something which is boring, but I want to make it very interesting. And I assure you that this session will be very interesting for all people who are using computers, computer systems, computer networks, computer resources, communication devices, as also people using data or information in the electronic format. So this is something that I wish to talk to all of you before I go ahead and bring my presentation on the table. So thank you so much for all people who are viewing us on social media and on other channels. And thank you, organizers. Thank you, IIU, and for this wonderful opportunity. So without wasting much time, I think I would directly like to get on to the presentation. Well, this is the usual response that I get when I'm taking a session. So why this kind of a response? Why should I know something about cyber law? Well, that's the fundamental question that most of you might be having. And thank God I'm not able to see any of your facial expressions, but I'm sure most of you would be looking at me like this, because speaking law, that to a non-legal people, that to at this hour, I think that's going to be very, very challenging. While I'll call ourselves as digital slaves. Why? The reason is very simple, that all of us were using social media platforms and over the top applications like WhatsApp are digital slaves. Why? Why am I making such a statement? I'm not trying to degrade anybody here. Please don't take me wrong. But all I'm just trying to bring in a point that is very interesting is when you look at the master slave relationship, ideally what happens? It is the slave who works very, very hard and the master gets all the benefit. So, same way, all of us are left, right, and center generating content on social media platforms. And end of the day, these platforms are deriving the benefit out of the content that's generated by you and me. So that's the reason I called all of us as digital slaves. Well, when I was studying in my schooling days, we had this wonderful game called Guess Who. So it's a very interesting game. And as the word itself says, guess who? You have two players, obviously, and you have different people over there, as you're able to see on the screen. And what you have to do is you have to pick a card, and the other party will have to guess this person on the card by uh, asking questions relating to their personal attributes. For example, the hair color, the kind of attributes like the eye color, eyeball color, the specs, whether they have mustache or whether they have beard or whether they have hat or any other thing, and what is the kind of attributes that they have. So all these questions are posed by the other party, and thereby will have to guess depending on the response. So this is very interesting, but think again, this has got a lot of legal ramifications and it's a big learner for all of us. Why? Today, whatever information is available about you and me are in bits and spurts on the internet. And the moment one makes use of all of this information, I think it's going to be huge and humongous when it comes to any kinds of cyber legal ramifications. Because we have something known as privacy, which we'll be discussing as we go forward. But I just thought I should just give you that understanding that these attributes that you and I leave on the internet are very valuable. Henceforth, I would request you to understand about the kind of data that you leave on the internet about you, the kind of footprint that you and I leave over the internet becomes very, very important. Well, today, most of the countries, including India, because I represent India, uh, have made privacy as a fundamental right. What does that mean? It means that, hey, if you're a citizen of India, well, thanks to the latest judgment of the Supreme Court, now right to privacy is your fundamental right. What does it mean? It essentially means that the next time somebody is going to affect your privacy in any manner, you don't have to wait. You can directly move to Supreme Court or the High Court under Article 32 and Article 226 of the Indian Constitution. Well, the image on the screen looks very funny, but I believe that's the broad message that we have to learn, that privacy cannot now be taken lightly. I believe that the Indian cyber law is one of the most significant laws passed by India post independence. If I were to talk about five important legislations passed by India post independence, I would say that the Indian cyber law is one among them. Now, the first question that you're going to ask me is, hey, what's cyber law? You've always been talking about cyber law. What is it? Let's go into it. Well, in a simple common man's language, the moment you're using computers, computer systems, computer resources, communication devices, as also computer networks and data or information in the electronic format, you'll have to now be aware that there is cyber law that's going to be made applicable to you. What does it mean? It means that if you're using any of these seven parameters, you will now have to be clear that cyber law is going to be made applicable to you. That's the whole reason we are having this session today. I thought, as a normal person, you should also be aware of cyber law if you're using any of these. And I'm sure today there's no one without a mobile phone. There's no one without a smartphone specifically. And there's no one without an email or without a WhatsApp account. So in this kind of a scenario, it's equally important that you be aware of this particular concept of cyber law. So that's the whole objective of my session today. Well, in India, when you look at what cyber law is, we have something known as the Information Technology Act. And this is the Indian cyber law. And the Indian cyber law was enacted in the year 2000. So it's a very new generation law. And uh, it has also been supplemented with some amendments and the rules and regulations. So, as a common person, I would want you to be aware that in India, we have a cyber law. That cyber law is the Information Technology Act 2000 and the rules and regulations made thereunder. So, in simple sense, there are four things that you will have to be aware of. Information Technology Act 2000, Information Technology Amended Act 2008, the IT Rules 2011, and IT Rules 2021. So these are the four laws that you will have to keep in mind the moment you're using a computer or a mobile phone or any particular information in the electronic format. So these are some things that you need to be aware of. Now, every law has got an objective. So what's the objective behind cyber law? Well, many of us think that cyber law is only used for punishing cyber crimes. Well, that's a great misconception to live in. Why? The law has never been intended for punishments. All that I want to bring in here is the law was introduced because it wanted to provide legal recognition to anything and everything that is digital or electronic in nature. What does it mean? It means, let's look at the preamble. We call this as preamble, which is the objective. And if you look at the objective of this law, it's very clear. Number one, to provide legal recognition to any electronic transactions. Number two, to boost e-governance and to promote e-commerce, as well as to give legal recognition to electronic communication and enable electronic filing. So the whole objective of the law is something to do with legal recognition. The law never was intended for punishments because already there's existing penal framework, and this particular law has gone ahead and I also changed and modified and brought about some amendments in the existing laws. So I want you to be aware that this law is a law that gives legal recognition and legal validity to anything and everything that we do on the electronic domain. What does it mean? Let's understand the concept of electronic records. So anything and everything that you create using an electronic device or an equipment becomes an electronic record. So your WhatsApp message is an electronic record. Your Facebook chat is an electronic record. Your tweet is an electronic record. The photograph that you take on your mobile phone, the audio clip that you record on your mobile phone, the video and the audio that you record, the image that you take, anything, your Excel sheet, your Word, your PowerPoint, and any document probably that you create using a computer, using a mobile phone, or any other electronic equipment becomes an electronic record. So the first question that comes before you is, so what if it's an electronic record? Why am I bothered? So what I want you to understand is the moment it is an electronic record, the Indian cyber law says, I will make it legally valid. What does it mean? It means that the next time you want to take this as an evidence in the court of law, you can absolutely go ahead and take it. Now, the law is very clear in saying the moment it's electronic record, we will grant legal recognition to it, and you can use that as an evidence in a court of law. So be very careful upon the kind of records you create, because your own records can be legal evidence against you. So think again while you create, edit, or transmit, share electronic records. So whatever information and data that you generate, create, conceive using an electronic device or an equipment become electronic records. And once they're electronic records, the Indian cyber law will treat that as legally valid record. Now, whatever digital payments that you and I are making today, whether it's through online or whether it's through Paytms, the Google Pays of the world, all these are legally valid payment mechanisms. Why? Because of the Indian cyber law. Had we not had any kind of legal validity to this, the transactions that you and I do may not have legal validity. So that creates a big question, not only for business, but even for a personal activity. The video conferencing that you and I are doing today, maybe using WhatsApp, maybe using applications like Zoom, Google Meets, Teams, and the world, everything is again an electronic record. And that's been given legal validity because of the Indian cyber law. So all your company meetings that are happening across online and all that you're doing today with the help of these video chat applications are legally valid conversations. So there are electronic records under the Indian cyber law. They're legally valid and they are recognized legally. So we have a very interesting domain called the metaverse. Well, it may look like a book or a movie, but now that's something that's turned out to be the reality today. All of us are using metaverse when you try to make use of your own digital avatar. So we already started to see that so many platforms are enabling you to create your own digital avatar. And what happens in this avatar? Your avatar becomes your legal identity in metaverse. And whatever you're doing, you're playing games across the virtual reality and augmented reality. All this is part of metaverse. It's a very interesting domain. And recently, we also started to see that the government is also trying to make use of metaverse. Well, the state of Telangana has become the first state in the country to come up with a metaverse based launch for its policy, specifically space tech policy. So all these is nothing but electronic record, and still it is now brought under the radar of the Indian cyber law. Facial recognition now has become the new passport of the times. Today, whatever applications that recognize your face for the purpose of doing any kind of authentication is now legally valid. Why? Face and facial recognition are nothing but electronic signatures. So we have two kinds of authentication that we have with respect to electronic records. Well, as a normal person, you are aware that the moment you want to authenticate any document physically, how do you authenticate it? You affix your signature, you sign on a piece of paper, that becomes legally valid. Not just that, you consent, you give your acceptance to that document by affixing your signature. What happens in terms of electronic? We have two methods of authenticating an electronic document or record. How is it? You use a digital signature or you use an electronic signature. What is digital signature? Don't be under the conception that digital signature is the scanned copy of your physical signature. That's absolutely not valid. You cannot use your physical signature scanned copy and say that this is digital signature. Well, digital signature will have to be purchased from an authority. Who's that authority? CA. They're called CA, certifying authority. Now, this certifying authority is appointed under the Indian cyber law, and they're appointed and supervised by somebody known as controller. So the controller of certifying authority appoints the certifying authority, and the certifying authority issues the digital signature. So should you wish to buy a digital signature, there are 7 certifying authorities in India, and then you can go and Google them and then buy your digital signature. And you can use that for signing emails and also documents, and they will be equal as just like how you authenticate your physical signature on a physical paper. Same way you can authenticate an electronic record by affixing your digital signature. Now, electronic signature, facial recognition is one form of electronic signature. You have the Aadhaar based OTP that's also now available as an electronic signature. You can purchase an e-sign from the internet for just about 500 plus rupees, and then you can authenticate your emails or any of the documents. Now, I have a very interesting case that I would just want to share with you. So this is something known, with respect to the space. So as you know, artificial intelligence is something that's now being increasingly popular, and all of us are part of this AI revolution. We already started to see Chat GPT come in. So I just would like to tell you that even in space, there is something known as AI astronaut companion that was developed for the purpose of enabling it to travel along with the respective uh, person to the space. So this is something that had created a different kind of paradigm altogether. Well, AI works on data and data sets. As a normal person, please be aware that artificial intelligence works on data and data sets. So the more and more data you feed in, the more and more accurate the system becomes. You also have applications like machine learning, wherein the artificial intelligence system learns with the help of this machine learning algorithms and then comes up with the output. So in this case, something similar had happened, and it created a huge amount of controversy. For example, the astronaut who was traveling along to the space was also using this kind of an astronaut companion, as you're able to see on the screen. All the information relating to the astronaut was programmed and fed into that particular AI system, and it was going on giving suggestions and recommendations. At one point, the astronaut was a bit irritated, and he asked the system to actually keep quiet. And the system reacted back saying, "How can you be so rude to me?" So I think this is no longer something that you're seeing in movies, but I think that's far more advancements have come today. Internet of Things has become the de facto norm for everyone, especially for all people who are using smartwatches. I believe today, nine 9 out of every 10 persons are using smartwatches as their daily phenomena. So when you use these, please be aware that the data that you generate out of these IoT devices, maybe your vital information, maybe information relating to your email and things like that, all those are also recognized as electronic records, and you're governed by the Indian cyber law. The wearable devices, of course, the Fitbits, the medical wearables, and all kinds of devices that we use are also now covered under the radar of the Indian cyber law. The cloud, that's now become the hot arena, because whatever data that you store is stored on the cloud. So today, the data storage is completely on the cloud, whether it's on your mobile phone or whether it's on your email or whether it's on your system. So I believe that all these kinds of arenas, please be aware that if you are using a mobile phone, whether it's Android or iOS, all data is synced on to your Android cloud or the iCloud, and whatever activities are done using them are governed under the Indian cyber law. The auctions that are happening across in various governments and governmental agencies that you do as part of your, if you're working in an organization where you're going ahead for bidding and tendering, please be aware that all these is now done electronically, and this is given legal validity and recognition due to the Indian cyber law. So 5G is already begun, and we have already started to see different kinds of frauds, including the SIM swapping, where people say, if you want to activate 5G, you will have to go ahead and restart your phone and do some kind of instructions. Please be aware that to run 5G on your device should be 5G enabled. So unless and until it supports 5G, your device cannot operate 5G. So before I get forward, all these was just to bring in some kind of understanding about how broad and comprehensive the Indian cyber law is and what all does it roughly includes. I thought I'll just give you a comprehensive idea. This is not something which can just be completed in one session like this, but just to bring about the awareness, I thought this should be one of the good platforms. And I have some interesting things to just showcase to you, because today is the age of cyber crimes. I think we are all in the golden era of cyber crimes, where most of us either are a potential or a victim. If not today, maybe tomorrow. It's all the question of time. I thought awareness is one of the keys in curbing most of these cyber crimes. So I have some instances to make it interesting. I thought, in the urge of you to be aware of the different kinds of frauds, I thought I'll just collate a couple of these so that as a user of a computer, of a mobile phone, or of a tablet, or of any of these smart gadgets, you are absolutely aware not to be falling to praise for these cyber criminals. Now, fake news is now become the center of all the times. Now, a lot of things are shared across the internet and these platforms. Do not get carried away by this. And AI is now also trying to generate a lot of images. And look at this: a woman marries an AI generated man and calls him the perfect husband. Wow. So I think we are living in an age of AI imagination. So AI generated images, generative AI has also now become the toast of the times. In Gurgaon, there's a very interesting case where an Instagram friend had offered a friend and had cheated a woman of 1.8 crore rupees. My goodness, I think this is something that you and I have to be careful. So please be watchful of the kind of interactions that you have, especially on the virtual space. In the physical world, you may be very cautious, but I would say please don't get duped by online or virtual friends. That can be very good, but can also be very, very dangerous. So think again uh, about the kind of activities that you do, the interactions that you have with your virtual friends, especially on social platforms. Now, in a bid to just get 200 rupees, a woman from Bombay had lost 6.42 lakh rupees to a cyber fraud. Look at this. Anything which lures you for money, please think again, because everything and anything that's offered to you for free is not something that you should really be thinking of, because all these are just to target you and to make you click on these, and therefore get duped with the help of these kinds of malicious links. So whatever is free, my dear friends, be watchful. Nothing in the world comes free of cost. And be watchful about the kind of clicks that you do, especially with respect to financial transactions. Otherwise, you can end up losing your entire money in the hands of cyber crooks and cyber fraudsters. Like a video and make money. Wow, look at this. I think easy money is something that 9 out of 10 people are really fancied of. If you were to do something very simple and get money, I'm sure all of us will be the first people to actually do anything. So in this scenario, if you just like a video, you've been targeted for a cyber fraud. So be very careful on these things, because knowingly or unknowingly, the small click, the small like that you and I do is going to land up in huge trouble, and is going to not only land our data but also the financial uh, information and data in the hands of cyber fraudster and cyber criminals. It's just like handing over your house keys, your wardrobe keys, your you know uh, uh, what can I say, the valuable items, where whatever you store in your safe store. If you're handing over the key or sharing the pin number to someone, how dangerous it could be. It could have the same impact here as well. So look at this. Now, cyber criminals are also using technology like AI to actually come up with face swapping technology. We also started to see voice cloning, wherein some fraudsters are cloning the voice of family members and asking for money. Please be very careful. Please verify physically with your family members or with your near and dear and your peer friends before you actually do any kind of transactions. Otherwise, you could end up losing huge and humongous money. Whatever hard money that you've earned can just be landing in the hands of the attacker because of one small issue from our side. That is due diligence. I think if you are lacking due diligence, that becomes the entry point for cyber crooks. And chat gpt is now used left, right, and center by everybody. Look at this: a class 7 student uses chat gpt to complete his homework but gets caught for one sentence. So my dear friends, be very careful, because even in the technology, it's bound to have some kind of mistakes. So I would say, as a human being, please pay attention to due diligence, and do not have a blindfolded dependence on technology. Now, the Madras High Court has also held Paytm to be liable for any kinds of unauthorized debit from your account and asks RBI to ensure that its guidelines are followed. So be very careful. Please try to understand. And if you don't understand, try to seek some help. Look at the terms and conditions of these applications. And now you don't need to worry. All of these people will have to route all of their complaints through a grievance mechanism. Now, the IT rules 2021, when I started in the beginning, I told you you must be aware of four things, of which IT rules 2021 are one of them. So, what does it say? It says that the moment you're using applications, any application, maybe a mobile application or a web application or a website or any software or any platform, now the IT rules 2021 make it mandatory that there has to be a grievance officer. And the grievance officer's name and the contact number would have to be available on their respective websites or applications. And should you have any kinds of grievances, you have to shoot a mail or you'll have to call the grievance officer and make a report. They're legally now responsible to give you an acknowledgement within 24 hours, and they'll have to resolve any query within 15 working days, 15 days, not working days, 15 days. So should they not do that, legal action can be initiated against them. So please be aware that in case you have any of these kind of things, look at the terms and conditions. Now, in any way we don't read the terms and conditions, it's just like talking to your boyfriend or girlfriend. You don't understand anything, but you click on I agree. So something similar, all of us do not read the terms and conditions. But my urge to all of you is, my request to all of you is, please look at the grievance officer's details before you actually try to do any transaction on your website or on their particular mobile application. And if it's a social media platform like Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram or WhatsApp, they also have somebody known as the nodal officer. So nodal officers' details are also available on the public domain. Now look at this. Now AI is the future. Now we also started to see AI generated food that's happening across, and this is a very wonderful example of the same. So you have the AI generated coffee machines, AI generated ice creams that are now getting more and more popular. Now, online gaming has become a deadly combination nowadays. So people are going ahead and doing any kinds of activities, especially kids. So if you're a kid or if you're a parent, please be watchful. Please talk about cyber hygiene to your child and try to inculcate some kinds of basic things like using an antivirus, not clicking on any of these links, and not sharing personal information completely on websites and applications. I think hygiene is something that you have to really be concerned, not just maintaining personal hygiene, but also cyber hygiene becomes very, very important. I'm sure free passwords like these would create huge and humongous problems. So especially in public places. This is something that is very funny, but I think it's a huge, huge broad message. Look at this. I think it's a very funny thing. A woman found that her boyfriend was cheating on her. How? Uh, all of us use this Fitbits, and she found that there's a spike at 2 a.m. Uh, and when she tried to sync, she found that there was a notification of burning 500 calories at 2 a.m. Well, what does it mean? It means that the data that is generated from this, Fitbit wearable is an electronic record. And just like I was just telling you earlier, it is legal evidence. Now she can absolutely claim this as in legal evidence because this is now electronic record. Once it's electronic record, it is now recognized and given legal recognition and validity and can be used as evidence in a court of law. So whatever system, mobile phone that you're or tablet that you're using, my advice is keep your software and operating system up to date and keep having antivirus softwares and solutions. Keep updating them. Just don't keep them in cold storage. People are selling your own data. Please be aware when you go to social media, you'll be surprised. 1 crore database for 199. How is all this data available? Please be watchful in malls, in shopping places, in theaters, or on any apps. Please be watchful about the kind of data that you share. We have something on personal and sensitive data. We'll also be discussing on that. But just to tell you that data is now being sold left, right, and center. I'm sure you've been aware of this interesting case of CBI arresting a hacker, especially when he tried to do some kind of tampering in this JEE main paper. Uber suffered a major cyber attack. So why I've got this case to you? Well, if you're people working in an organization, especially if you're a CISO, that means if you're a chief information security officer, think think again. Why? There are a lot of legal ramifications post this case. In India, we have something known as the IT Directives 2022, which are called Certain Guidelines Computer Emergency Response Team of India, certain CERT guidelines 2022. They say that if there is a cyber breach or if there is something suspicious, you will have to report within 6 hours upon you being aware about such and such a breach. So think again. For a simple example, if your computer or if your mobile phone, which you have and where you're using it for discharging your official obligations, that system gets hit with any virus attack, you'll now have to report it within 6 hours of time, failing which legal action can be initiated not just upon the company, but on you as an individual. So Uber case was a eye opener for everybody. So I would like to say that if you're an individual working or responsible for any of these kind of activities, think again that there are a lot of legal ramifications, especially with respect to reporting of cybersecurity breaches. Samsung also was hit with a data breach notice, and a person was hit with a fraud, especially relating to KBC. So, my dear friends, please be aware that these kinds of frauds are happening on a day to day basis, and it's all the kind of manifestations that are new, but ultimately, even airlines, oil companies, nobody has become an exception. And even metaverse crimes are now becoming more and more popular. We also started to see someone who's getting attacked in the metaverse. Metaverse land, well, this is also something that I thought of sharing with all of you. For those of you who are interested in who have invested in buying some kind of land on the metaverse, there are legal ramifications that you'll have to be aware of. So please be very aware of it, especially the singer Dylan Mehendi. He had come up with something known as Balle Balle land, which is the virtual land in the metaverse. So if you're investing in buying these lands on the metaverse, think again that there are legal ramifications that you'll have to be aware, like the anti-money laundering, know your customer. A lot of documentation is now required under the IT rules 2021. Non-fungible tokens, I'm not getting much into it because I would say that the moment you are having some kind of a token today, that's a very important aspect. Tokenization. What do you mean by token? It's just like the money. If you have a 5 rupee or a 10 rupee coin, what happens to that? It's not a normal coin. It is representing that money in that coin. So just like that, please understand that whatever assets, digital or virtual assets you're buying, that is getting represented through something known as a token. And it is called non-fungible because there is only one and only. There is no second. If you buy a movie ticket, that ticket is one and only. You might buy it once more, but you can not replace the same with this. Just like a painting or just like a particular piece of artwork. So that is something known as non-fungible token. Web 3.0 is something that is getting very popular now, especially with the customers trying to go ahead for more and more specialized content that they are looking for. Just imagine if you have a music player on your mobile or on your device, you might have a lot of library of songs there, right? You might have a library which consists of 1,000 songs, but you may like only 10. So you create a specific playlist. So just understand that the internet that you and I are seeing is just like the library, which has 1,000+ songs. But if you were to have a playlist which is only your favorite 10 songs, just understand that that becomes Web 3.0. That means whatever you like, based on that, just imagine if the responses keep coming, and if only that kind of content is generated and shown to you, what kind of things you can do. That's all is about Web 3.0. Now, insurance, especially in the cyber domain, has become very, very important because data has become the new asset. So try to go ahead and take cyber insurance in your personal or professional capacity. That really helps you in case of mitigating your risks, especially with your data or data related assets. Now, as an individual, I would say that you have to be aware of your sensitive personal data or information. The law has come up with something known as sensitive personal data or information, which is called SPDI. Your passwords, whether automatically generated or manually created, is sensitive information. Financial information, debit card, credit card, bank account details, wallet details are all financial information. Biometric related information, sexual orientation, gender related information, health conditions, and health records. So, all of these are your sensitive personal data or information. So, the next time you give any of these information, think again. As an individual, that is your sensitive data under the law. Of course, there's an exception. What's the exception? Any information available in public domain or any information that is disclosed under RTI does not amount to sensitive data. So that's a very, very important statement. Please be aware, any information that's available in public domain. I'll, I'll also come to that as we go forward. Personal information, any information with which a person can be identified, maybe name, email ID, phone number, IP address, Aadhaar number, passport number, PAN card number, or your employee ID, or your normal ID that you have. Anything which identifies a person becomes your personal information. So now you know what is your sensitive information: passwords, financial information, biometric related information, sexual orientation, health conditions, and health records. They are all sensitive. This is something which is personal. So the next time you give your sensitive or personal information, think again, because this is your information. This is your personal information, your sensitive information. And I don't want to go much into this, but in the paucity of time, I just want to tell you that the law has now come up with something known as a computer. So just remember three things. For any device to be called a computer under the law, you require three things. What are the three things? Arithmetic and logical unit, memory, and computing capacity. If any device has got any of these, three things, that can be called a computer. I'm trying to simplify it. I'm not getting into the in-depth definition, but just to tell you, as a common man, if I were to call anything a computer, it should have arithmetic and logical unit, it should have memory, it should have computing capacity. Keeping that in view, even an ATM, your automatic washing machine is also a computer. So the next time your domestic servant meddles with your washing machine such that the operations are at grinding halt, then she has committed a crime, rather a cyber crime or a contravention, depending upon the same under the Indian cyber law. So this is something that even now servants and servants related activities are coming under the radar of the Indian cyber law. So likewise, even communication devices, any device which can store, transmit, receive audio, video, image, text, that is now called communication device. So balkanization of the internet. Now country specific internet is now being developed. Now just imagine that you're cut off from the world. Uh, Russia is already working on this concept known as the RUNet project. So I think now country specific internet has become more and more popular. Blockchain, I'm not just getting into it, but just to tell you that it is a kind of technology which is immutable. Once you put information in the block, it cannot be altered, and rather it cannot be tampered with. but it is having transparency, and it is immutable. So I'm not getting much into this blockchain because of paucity of time, but just to tell you, a lot of things are happening. John Doe order. So what is John Doe? The term John Doe means unknown. So if you think that you have created some work and that has already been put on the internet, but you think that somebody is going to make use of the content and infringe upon that content, what do? You go to a court and seek something known as a John Doe order. So the producers of these two films, Singham and Bodyguard, they went to the court and they have taken this order to prevent any platform or website or a mobile application from facilitating the download of these movies. Now, trademark. Should you be someone who's trying to start a company, an organization, a brand, it's important that you go ahead and register a trademark. These are the examples of how why trademark becomes important. The blockbuster movie Sholay and this famous movie was actually trying to be remade by this famous film director known as RGV, where he came up with something known as Ram Gopal Verma Ki Aag. And the makers of Sholay went ahead and restrained and got some order because he wanted to put that as Ram Gopal Verma Ki Sholay, but they restrained him from using the term Sholay. So in the last minute, they made use of the term Aag. So that's why trademark comes into picture. And same way, Harry Potter versus Harry Potter. And this is one more example. So the court has said, if you sleep over your rights, you can no longer enforce it. So my advice is, do not sleep. Please be constantly aware upon your rights in order to enforce the same. Otherwise, you will end up the same way. Impersonation attacks. This famous Bollywood movie is a classical example of how cyber criminals can attack you. So a lot of activities are now being done by the way of impersonation, especially with the CBI, with the enforcement agencies, as also with respect to electricity departments and other things. So please be watchful on the kinds of attacks. And please register your intellectual property. This famous movie called Satya in Bollywood, I think the line is very, very clear. I think that's something you and I have to come up with. If you're coming up with any kinds of idea, you conceive an idea, try to see how you can protect it. And if you can protect the expression of the idea, then look at a trademark, copyright, and patent. If you are having a brand name and logo, you can trademark it. If you are having a process or an invention, you can patent it. If you're having some kind of literary work like a software program or a written novel, music, or any kind of movie, you can go ahead and copyright it. But registration would become very, very important. Though it's not mandatory, but it's advisable in order to claim legal ownership upon the same. So policies and terms and conditions are something like this. It's very important upon the kind of permission that you grant to any application, especially mobile application, before you download. Please look at what kind of permissions are you giving to the respective application before you download the same. So, so cyber law compliance is very, very clear. You don't have any kinds of exceptions. So due diligence is something that I would say you have to do as an user, as an individual, or as a corporate working professional. So we have two kinds of data that we handle, our own personal data, and second thing, the corporate data of our company. So be very careful and have in place your due diligence. And artificial intelligence is now already become the toast. Fake applications, fake news, fake vaccines, a lot of things are happening across. It's a fake all around. So be very careful on the kind of fake information you disseminate, especially on WhatsApp and on other groups. Darknet is something that is already being very, very popular, and it's used both for legitimate and illegitimate activities. So it's a lot of things are happening across the internet, and cyber security will become very, very important for every individual. I think the concept of cyber security is no longer only limited to companies, but if you're an individual, I think cyber security is something that becomes important for you, especially when you use computers, internet, mobile phones, or information in the electronic format. So even for video tweets or any tweets, you could face legal challenges, just like how it happened in this case. Cybercrime stores are now being increasingly made available. So you don't need to be a hacker or possess technical skill. Cybercrime is offered as a service. For any of the social media posts, now you could also face criminal charges and you could receive a notice from the CBCID department. So be very careful upon the posts that you make on the social media. Cyberbullying is now increasingly getting popular, but I would say there's already legal uh, issues pertaining to cyberbullying. Please report, and reporting of cyberbullying is the only mantra. Cyber harassment has also now become very popular, especially in all age groups. So please report, and then you have a cybercrime helpline, cybercrime.gov.in, and that really helps you to curb your harassment. Phishing, be very careful upon, it's just like a fake page resembling the original. Please do not respond immediately. Please verify the, if it's an email, verify the email ID properly. See, check the spellings if it's a page or an email ID, and doing a small due diligence can help you prevent a cyber attack. So if you're uploading pictures from your mobile phone, think again, because the latitude and the location can now be traced. And for those of you who are using WhatsApp, I think WhatsApp has become the de facto communication tool today. Please look at the terms and conditions of WhatsApp. It's very clear in saying that whatever you share and publish, including your display picture upon WhatsApp, audio, video, image, and text, that becomes information in the public domain. Look at this: information in public domain. So this is where I just told you that once it is information in public domain, it is no longer sensitive and personal data, and you cannot claim of any breach of your personal and sensitive data. So uh, this is something that I thought I would share with all of you. So in the paucity of time, I'm not getting into all of these, but these are something known as cyber contraventions. Cyber contravention means it is civil in nature. If you want to get compensation or by way of damages from somebody, then you can go ahead and use this provision under section 43 of the Information Technology Act. All I want you to keep in mind is there are two kinds of things: one is crime and one is contravention. Crime is something which is committed with two things: intention and act of doing something wrong. If you have an intention and intentionally you commit something which is wrong, that becomes a crime. But if you don't have an intention but still you do a violation of some rules and regulations, that is called a contravention. Civil, criminal. Civil means money, criminal means sending someone to jail. So these are the two parameters that I would want you to keep in mind. Should you want to claim compensation up to 5 crore rupees, you can go and approach the IT secretary of the state. The information technology secretary of the state becomes the adjudicating officer for handling damages by way of compensation up to 5 crore rupees. So in the paucity of time, I'm not getting into all of these. I'm directly getting into my concluding slides. So just to tell you, yes, that even social media posts are evidence. So three ways to secure any system: what I am, what I have, and what I know. What I am is my physical self. What I have is the smart card, dongle, and what I know is ultimately the PIN number and password. So the different combinations of these three will make any system a secure system. Of course, any system is as strong as its weakest link. So I have some slides to just showcase something relating to cyber awareness. It is not what it seems like on the social media. Don't get carried away by all of these things. Cyber resilience is something that you and I have to quickly adopt. What is cyber resilience? In case you are hit with a cyber threat or an attack or a fraud, how quickly can you come back to normalcy? I think this is something you have to really think of, especially in this domain of cyber world. These are the different agencies with respect to cybersecurity. Uh, we have the National Cybersecurity Coordinator. We have the Cyber and Information Security Division in the MHA. We have the National, I mean, Critical Information Infrastructure IIPC. We have the Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center and Defense Cyber Agencies. So chat rooms are something like this. Please don't get carried away in your virtual friendship. Please don't be blindfolded with the information that is shared across. be more due diligent, and think again. And this is a very interesting password change, but I see that a lot of people don't change the default passwords, they keep it as it is. So I would say, please don't do that. Two ways to learn any subject, active and passive. Of course, the choice is yours ultimately. And finally, I would just like to tell you that size does not matter. My dear friends, you may just think that I'm a normal person, I'm not a celebrity, I'm not a huge corporate guy. What happens to me in case? Why should I be even bothered of all of these things? But size does not matter when it comes to cyber frauds, cyber crimes, and cyber security breaches. Uh, yes, Facebook addiction centers, and have already now been started, and this is more dangerous. Internet medicine has already begun to see the reality. All these are just illustrations to showcase dependency to such an extent. Even the hospitals are now turning to be digital. So I think a lot of these things are now being used. No offense to anybody here, but just to tell you that yes, there are lots of risks and challenges. See, identity thefts and frauds have been committed. God on Facebook. Already impersonation attacks have begun. A lot of people are doing these kinds of status updates. Do not do that, because uh, we should be staying healthy for ourselves, but not posting something on the internet. So I would just like to tell you, passwords are like toothbrushes. You should choose a good one. You should not share it with anyone, and you should change it occasionally. So finally, I just like to conclude by saying that never ever give up, my friends. You will face challenges in all walks of life, but never ever give up. And this is how we follow cyber law. The person sitting in front should wear a helmet. We don't understand the necessity for wearing a helmet. See, when you cut onions, automatically tears roll down, but this is the acuity, this is the acumen that you will have to keep in mind. And finally, this is a t-shirt for car drivers, which looks like you're wearing a seat belt. Ultimately, why do we wear a seat belt? For our own safety? No, just to avoid paying fine to the next policeman. I think that culture will have to change and create happiness. If you cannot find it, and what is necessary is only what is required. So given the limited amount of time, my dear friends, I would just like to tell you that I thought I'll just give you this kind of awareness about cyber law. I think a lot of things you and I have to keep in mind before we use and before we look into any kinds of computer systems and the internet. So cyber law becomes your cyber law and cyber security both become your lifelong companions the moment you use computers, internet, and mobile phones. So thank you so much for this patient hearing, and once again like to uh, thank the organizers for giving me this wonderful opportunity to come and talk to you about cyber law for all. And I hope you have got some kind of information relating to why cyber law becomes an essential aspect, especially for non-legal audience, especially for non-lawyers, especially for ones who are using computers, internet, and uh, the devices. So thank you so much. That's all I have from my side. Over to you. Thank you so much. And I'm very sorry that due to some technical glitch, I think my video is, I mean, having some kind of a lag. And I'm very sorry and apologize for not being able to come on the video at the minute. But thank you so much, IIU, for this wonderful opportunity. And once again, you've demonstrated thought leadership in coming up with this kind of uh, innovative and the present required topics. Thank you so much, organizers. Thank you to all the viewers who are watching us upon various social platforms. That's all from my side, please.